Hey everybody, and welcome to Searching for Ghosts on YouTube. This is the Disappearance of Cayce Lynn McDaniel, the Revisited series. This is episode 9, A Family's Plea. This podcast is 5 years old. It's already out. It's completed. You can listen to the podcast in its entirety anywhere you listen to audio podcasts. That's Amazon, Apple, Spotify, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Searching for Ghosts, The Disappearance of Cayce Lynn McDaniel. This is season 1 is already out. This is the Revisited series. This is a good one, guys. Let's get into it. Trying to figure out what to air in this podcast is a constant tightrope walk. I have to sift through the myriad of rumors to find the truth. I don't want this to be the audio equivalent of a topics discussion board, but sometimes you have to put unsubstantiated stories out there to get people to come out with the truth. I am constantly having to keep law enforcement's best interest in mind, which is a guessing game because I'm not in communication with them. The last thing I want to do is to be a hindrance to the investigation of the disappearance of Cayce McDaniel. And then there is the family. These are real people, and here I am putting things out in a public forum that sometimes are not the most flattering. I gain no pleasure whatsoever in talking about people's private lives. But in order to find answers, this is a necessary evil. And after the Mr. X episode, I thought it was time to give the family a chance to talk. Cindy has had an open invitation to speak her mind, unedited. I've gotten word to her that I will just hit record and she can say whatever she wants. But I also wanted to give others in the family the opportunity to have a say. And Casey's aunt and cousin took me up on this offer. Pam and her son Lucas met with me in Jackson, Tennessee. I had no questions prepared. I just came in, set up my recording equipment, and told them that they had the floor. If something came up that spawned a question, I would ask, but otherwise, this was their time. And they came prepared. Pam brought in a file folder overflowing with 21 years of paperwork documenting all the starts and stops. I am Brandon Barnett. This is Casey's family, and this is Searching for Ghosts. Okay, I can't tell you how good it was to have family do this. Okay. And I guess I should amend what I've always said about season 1. And I thought about this when I cut earlier episodes, but I didn't want to spoil Lucas and Pam, that episode. And they are the closest thing to a Johnny Carter in season 2 that I have. So when I say I had no help from family on Cayce McDaniel's, that's not true. Lucas is Casey's cousin, and Pam is his mother, Casey's aunt. I guess what I should say is immediate family. As far as the passion and wanting to see justice done and answers, Pam and Lucas are just as passionate as Johnny Carter. It's a cousin and an aunt, though, so there's only so much information that they have, right? So I want to clear the air on that. I thought about that after I cut some of those episodes, and I was like, I hope I didn't hurt their feelings, because that is not what I meant, you know. I meant someone who lived under the same roof as Casey, immediate family, right? But Pam and Lucas are great. And this was awesome. This was so nice to have. I mean, you know, this thing kind of became a juggernaut. And it was just, once it got going, it was a train, man. You couldn't stop it. And, you know, I've said it before, but you end up, you have all these grandiose ideas and ideals about how this thing is going to go and who's going to talk to me. And, you know, of course, in your mind, it's like, boom, 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 boom. We're going to do this. And then none of that happens. You know, where law enforcement's not talking to you. Immediate family's not talking to you. You start digging in and realize that this thing is rumor filled. Like, and then I had to take it upon myself to figure out, like I've mentioned before, which rumors do I talk about? You know, cost benefit analysis. Like what I don't want to air gruesome stuff. I don't want to, that's not substantiated. But at the same time, a lot of this, the plan was to shut a lot of that down too, cut through that junk and, in a sense, not necessarily shame people, but shame the rumors. If you can poke holes in a rumor, I don't care if it's widely circulated and everybody knows, but if you can poke holes in it and shame it, people are going to think twice before repeating it. And that was the idea. Let's cut through the crap, man, and let's get down to it. Where the rubber meets the road. And Pam and Lucas were a great step in causing that to happen. Lucas ended up doing media with me. We got on I should give props to Keith Shirley back when he was at 101.5. He interviewed us. I think it ends up in being, that clip ends up being in one of the episodes. He was supposed to record it for me so I could have good audio of it, but I think Pam ended up recording it on her phone in her car while she's listening to the episode. And of course, I think you can hear like the door dinging or whatever. But yeah, Pam and Lucas are great. And I was living in a crap hole and I couldn't have them. We were trying to find somewhere to meet to do this interview, and I didn't have the lavish Left of Nashville studios that I do now. And Jackson Madison County Library was really great to give us a room and we met there. And of course had the big board meeting table there. And of course, it's funny, I'd forgotten this. I've talked a lot about Johnny Carter's 3-ring binder. Pam had a freaking huge binder, man, that had all kinds of stuff in it that we get to in this episode.
I know Cindy called around. She had a notebook, and she'd write down, people she called, things she had checked, people she talked to, but I don't know what all was in the notebook, what she wrote down. I just know that she actively tried to help find Cayce too. And I don't know at what point, things kind of turned, and I think there was just a lot of finger pointing, and she kind of felt like they weren't maybe focusing on what they needed to focus on. They were more focused on, family. And I don't think that Cindy had anything to do with it. I mean, I think that she's done what she could do to try to help find Cayce, and unfortunately she's just been through several different avenues of authority figures that kind of turned out to be not what we expected. And maybe that her trust in the authorities was lost, back then, because of the finger pointing and because of empty promises and things that they said they were doing. A lot of people have focused on the negative things and aren't aware of, what all that Cindy has done and what she's gone through to try to help to find Cayce. I know that Cindy has written letters to, senators, congressmen, state representatives. She's, written letters asking for help on the rewards. Search dogs. Oh, God.
Psychics.
Psychics,
Lisa
yeah.
Goodman Show. And that's just the documented stuff, and that's not her doing her own investigating and research.
Yeah. I think that maybe she has voiced her opinion and what she felt like needed to be looked into, or issues that she felt like maybe needed to be addressed. And I think maybe the focus got put off on this. The focus was more on one person when it should have been directed in other places too. So I think her gut feeling was, look, this is what you need to focus on, and you're too focused on this. And I think at some point, you know, she was like, I've tried everything I can do to try to get them to focus their attention this way. And like maybe they didn't believe her. I think she feels like that people did not believe her. You know, this is her gut feeling, what she thinks happened, or maybe, you know, this is the path we need to follow, but that authorities were so, you know, focused on following this other path that she just, you know, basically like shut herself down, because it's like, you know, focus on this, look at this, or what about this? And, you know, she needed somebody that would listen to her and listen to her side of the story and quit having that one-sided focus.
Yeah. To them, it just made her look more suspicious that she was trying to get them to look into another avenue.
Right.
And they
I
were
think
like,
she
well, if
just
she
felt
was,
so-
you know, involved,
Yeah.
then that makes it look like she's trying to push it off, but that's not what she was trying to do.
Right.
The way that Cindy talked, man, they watched a lot of things. Like, she would sit down and say, okay, are y'all ready? Are y'all going to record this? They're like, no, go ahead. You know, stuff like that would happen all the time. That's not even the worst.
Yeah.
You know, so
You know, a
who
couple
knows
of
what they looked into and what they didn't.
the sheriff at that time, I mean, you know, he definitely turned out to not have a very good reputation, so I don't think anything that he did, you know, I didn't trust him. So, you know, and then once he was out of office and the new one came in, it was like there was some hope there that maybe something was going to be done. Well, in the past year, you know, that's kind of all fallen apart, and he wasn't the person that we thought he was either. So I think it's just unfortunately been through some bad phases, and just we need the right people on it now.
When they started going through all the things, you know, because all I had were published reports, right? So Pam's got all these things that Cindy was doing, you know, requesting a helicopter and the thermal imaging from the DOD, man, you know, the National Guard, you know, that didn't make the news, you know? And so when you're reading this stuff, man, it really, again, kind of going back to the Cindy episode, it balances things out, you know, it really does. And it still, you know, it made the question in my mind even stronger. Well, you know, maybe Cindy does have a legitimate reason for not wanting to get on the mic, you know. Maybe she's been burned, man, like so much, you know. And Pam and Lucas talk about that. So, you know, that was very eye-opening. And I will say that maybe they won't mind me saying this. This whole meeting, the main goal of this, well, to clear the air on a lot of this stuff for sure, because it does that. It was to get Cindy to talk to me again. This was kind of the last big push to get Cindy involved, because, you know, in simplistic terms, it's kind of like, see, he doesn't bite, you know, kind of thing, you know. The family, it's showing support of me, and look, this guy's after the same things we are. He's fair, blah blah blah. This was the last push to get Cindy to come on board. This was a tactical thing as well with all of us to get that to happen. It didn't happen. But it was a very good try and a very good episode. I love this episode. It's chock full of so many things.
Then Pam wanted to address the Mr. X theory.
Just hearing, the first Mr. X and his list of, charges, I was surprised that there were so many of them. And just hearing those charges, you think, well, yeah, that's probably the guy. I mean, he had a bad reputation. He was wild. There was all kinds of rumors about things that went on in his house and all that. But all these, stories about, her being pregnant or him having her picked up and brought out there, and it was because of a drug deal and all that. I don't believe all that, and as bad as he is, and as many charges as he's had against him, I just don't think that that's the person that they needed to focus on. And I can see why they did, but we just need, we need to know where to look. We need evidence. We need somebody to come forward that knows something. I'm tired of hearing all the stories about what happened to Cayce, about feeding her to the hogs, or her being buried under a bridge, or
she's under the school, or we've heard every single rumor that's out there.
People are good at repeating rumors, but come forward with what you know that's evidence, not just a bunch of damn stories that you've heard.
My favorite thing at the time about this, for me, you have to understand, you have to put this in context. This was 5 years ago. Now, if you want to poo-poo the Mark Burns rumors, you're still going to have your people come out and go, oh, well, I know he did it, blah, blah, blah. But you've kind of got more truth on your side now, and you can say that. It's a lot safer in 2022 to say, I don't think Mark Burns had anything to do with this. In 2017, you were alone. You were outstanding in your field alone, right? So when Pam comes in and dittos, man, what I was thinking about and saying the same things I did. Hey, he looks bad. He looks like a bad actor. He does. On paper, looks awful. See why they looked into him. But she talks about tunnel vision, and of course, Pam's very good to not, she's not pointing anyone out directly, but she talks about tunnel vision on Mark Burns kept the truth from being discovered, You spend all those resources on the wrong guy, So it was good to have backup on the Mark Burns thing, because at the time it was mob rule back then as far as popular opinion. You were in the minority if you didn't think Mark Burns had something to do with it. You were, like I said, alone, basically. So it was really good to have, I think it did a lot for the cause to have a family member come out and go, okay, look, this is crap, man.
There is some hope as far as Pam is concerned with the people on the case currently.
I know now the people that are, actively working on the case, that this is people that, I trust. I think that they've got Cayce's best interest at heart, and they're on Cindy's side, and they want to help Cindy find Cayce. I think there's just a different set of people, now, and the people now, I feel more confident in them being able to work together and, help each other out.
Another thing that was really good in this is that Pam's talk of current law enforcement. She talks about the mistrust of past administrations. Gibson County's had a terrible run of sheriffs. over the past 20 years. They've just had really bad luck, and you can see why the corruption rumors or the conspiracy theories with the Cayce thing came about. Has some sorry dudes in there in a law enforcement capacity in the past. So that was really good that she talked about trusting the current people, and I think she was talking Bobby Sellers specifically, which was great because we've already gone through kind of the animosity between, Milan PD and myself, but we're all after the same thing. And Pam became that. I don't want to say she was a liaison, but if I ever did need to get anything to them, I could go through her. She was that buffer. She was, I know they don't like me, and that's okay. I mean, this isn't a popularity contest for me, but, and I've got my issues as well as they have their issues with me, but I wanted us to work together. I wanted that from the beginning. I knew it would be in a limited capacity, but I think I got word, and I don't know if it was through Pam, but I got word, use me as a tool. Let me be the mouthpiece for what, you got a bit of information that, you got a lead that you're going, and you're trying to smoke something out. Give me something to drop, that might help you. I was all down for that. So Pam was a good buffer between Milan PD and myself, and it kind of made that less, and that was really good. This is just a really good episode. This was just one of the most productive episodes, I think, in this series.
With the comments that people make, whether it be Facebook or anywhere else, just before you do anything, realize that this isn't a TV show, that Brandon's trying to help. You also got to think of Cindy. You got to think of the family. You got to think of Jesse and people that think they do have valuable information need to come forward and tell it to law enforcement or tell it to Brandon, and not just place a theory out there because they want their name mentioned. I want people to realize too that every piece of information is not going to be made public, and it's not going to be the public's outlet. Eventually, when we find Cayce and we find answers, we want justice to be served, and we want the people responsible, to get what they deserve. So that's why everything can't be made public as far as law enforcement's involvement, what they can and can't say. When this happened 20 years ago, the case was open. The case is not closed as of now, so it's still open.
And having them talk about the rumors, in Lucas's plea of, hey, this isn't a television show, so cut it out. Like, cut it out with the stuff. Don't be wasting our time with this junk, I can say it all day long, man. I'm some dude from Jackson that nobody knows anyway, right? But Casey's cousin, Casey's aunt are going, okay, stop it with the rumors. Like, stop it. Enough of that. We've had our fill of that. Like, this isn't a game, right? And then Lucas talked about, you got to keep the family in mind too when you're in these rumors. And boy, I felt guilty because Mr. X had just come out. That episode had just come out, and I aired all those. I did it. But again, 5 years later, looking back, it was a necessary evil, man. It was. With me putting that out in episode 8, and then Lucas and Pam coming in episode 9 and kind of backing me up on it and going, okay, stop it. Right. Because if you're just listening to the podcast, let's say you don't know the rumors and I didn't mention them, and then they come in and say, well, stop it with that. But Pam mentioned specifically some of the rumors that I mentioned in episode 8. I don't know. It was teamwork. Teamwork makes the dream work. It worked, right? They piggybacked episode 8 with them going, okay, all that stuff that he mentioned, stop coming to us with that stuff. Stop repeating it. You don't know. Okay. You think you say you know, but you don't know. Right.
You never know what kind of valuable information will come up when you least expect it.
Somebody drove by there and they noticed a truck in the driveway, and in the carport, somebody was standing under the carport, like up against the wall, and it just got their attention. I don't remember all the facts and details, but supposedly this person either turned back around and went back by and drove really slow, and they saw the person in the carport standing up against the wall, and then this guy in this truck, or outside of his truck, had one elbow propped up on top of the cab of the truck and the door open on the driver's side, the other elbow on the top of the door, and was talking to whoever it was in the carport. And he said that this, as he drove by slowly, this guy just turned around and just stared at him. And he said, he thought it was weird. That's as far as that went.
But didn't recognize him.
No, as far as I know, like he wasn't able to, or he may have given a description or something, but it didn't lead to anything that I know of, or I don't even know what the description was of the truck. Or I know they wanted him to maybe undergo hypnosis to see if he remembered anything, and I don't think that ever was followed through on, or maybe he didn't feel comfortable doing it. So of course all this isn't, I don't know it all for a fact. It's just another story I was told, but that one was from a pretty legitimate source, so I believe that happened. I just wish whoever that person was, they'd step up now.
We're not trying to start the rumor mill again, but this is just things that have been written down over since years ago, so it's hard to remember every little thing, but those are important details that we don't have.
Okay. Evidence-wise, and I'm going to put that in air quotes because, again, it's not like I have documentation, hard documentation of everything. I'm not an investigator, but just for my money, as a podcaster, there are three things in this podcast that, to me, cut through all the BS. Not saying all of them are even legit. One of them was the phone call from the church. To me, that was huge. That was a new discovery. Okay. Again, may not be anything, but I thought that was, now we're getting somewhere kind of thing. Just by posing the question, we were getting somewhere. The second one was the truck in the driveway, which had been published. That was published in the newspapers, I believe. But I don't think I'd ever heard, that's not the big juicy rumors that topics like to have on their thing. People like to post on topics, this truck in the driveway. And I still don't know where I stand on that stuff. But just like the phone call from the church, that's worth looking into. By the time we got through this thing, Mark Burns and his getting 20 people to help him do some dastardly deed, that crap is not worth looking into. The truck in the driveway, though, and and that'll come up later because Lucas and I get on that we jump on that with both feet, man, because that was just like, to me, that was just a moment where I'm like, oh, I didn't know about that. Is this for real? Let's track this guy down, you know, like, and like I said, Lucas and I get on that one hardcore, you know. And then the third one, I can't mention now because we're not there yet. But there are three things in this podcast that really, to me, were integral to finding out more than we've ever known about this case. And that came up in this interview, the truck, that was one of them. And it was just, yeah. This was a very productive episode. This was so good on so many levels. It was good to have family in there. I felt really alone for a while. And I felt like everybody was against me. And I'm not doing a poor, pitiful me thing. It's just, you know, deciding what to put out. You know, I mentioned in that opening, deciding what to put out every episode was it was so stressful, you know. You're sitting there trying to just weigh out everything. Does this help? Does this hurt more than it helps? You know? Because believe it or not, of course, at this time, this was a big rumor too, that I was all in it for shock value and trying to launch my songwriting career with this podcast or something. I don't understand the logic, but whatever. I was trying to get, you know, because that's a common practice in the music industry to piggyback off the back of missing children. That's just, you know, that's what all the Nashville cats do, man. Anyway, it was really good to have support and have new things, legitimate things to look into that somebody brings up, you know, the truck, you know, and certain things. And I felt that I got pushed in a corner and had to, you know, had to make the decision on my own. Do I do these crazy rumors, and what are the benefits? What are the costs? And had there been more episodes like this, had there been more help like this, and Pam and Lucas, like I said, you know, they gave me all that they knew. You know, it wasn't like, again, I don't poo-poo them at all. They like I said, they are the closest thing to Johnny Carter in this season. But there's only so much they know. But, you know, I was, you know, just think about it for a minute. Say if Cindy had come in early on, well, at all, but early on, I wouldn't have had to gone to a lot of the places that I ended up. That podcast would have been so much different, potentially, depending on what she told me. But, you know, if I'm working with her, or working with law enforcement on some capacity, this would have been a totally different, which everything happens for a reason, you know, and we did the best with what we had. But this was just a great episode. This was great. I wish there could have been more like this. There weren't enough in this season, but it made all the difference, I think. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Please subscribe and tell your friends, share it, do all the things, and I'll see you next time on the flip side for episode 10.